What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Lock and Cash podcast. It's Tuesday, November 18th, looking ahead to week 12 in the NFL season. Man, it feels like it went by like that, but at the same time, we basically still have 2.5 whole months of football to go. So we'll look to finish off strong here in the home stretch. A downright crappy week 11 for me. Man, I was so disappointed. My best bet, Vikings -3. I don't even know how to describe what I saw in that game. I'm not going to shit on the kid like everyone is shitting on JJ McCarthy all over social media and in the media in general. I'm not even going to shit on him. He could get better. There's some potential, whatever, but it was just shocking to see someone look that bad in a single game. Like, I understand if he's maybe not a great quarterback, he's average, but it was shocking how many throws were missed in that game, which is even more annoying because the handicap turns out to be half correct. Like, the Bears had there were receivers wide open all over the field all game long, and the ball was just sailing over their heads or bouncing at their feet or hitting them in the back behind them or way out for, like, I just couldn't believe what I can't. It was shocking. There's no other word. Shocking how it was a shockingly bad QB performance. I can't remember one being that wildly bad, like, unless I was watching college. I've seen plenty of those in college football, but have not seen that in the NFL in quite some time. So that was pretty surprising. When you have, and it's not like the Bear, I like the Bears offense. They could run the ball, but the defense looked horrible. He couldn't take advantage of it. But it's even this at the same time, it's not like the Bears were lighting it up. They had 16 points in the fourth quarter, going into the fourth quarter. So, and then didn't score again till the end of the game. So I felt like most of that handicap was right. If the kid could just hit some guys in the chest with the ball, you probably win that game going away. So that was a weird one. Chiefs lost a parlay for me. Once they scored and it was 1960, I thought Mahomes with the ball in his hand and a lead below 5 minutes left, and you tell me the Chiefs are going to lose? Shocking stuff. Although the extra point there, I feel like if they make the extra point, game over. But the extra point got blocked. We did hit a teaser. That was our one win of the week. And we did win on Thursday Night Football. So anyway, overall, I think I went like 2-5 for week 11. So not a good week for me. Lost some units. We're still up a lot on the season, over 10 units on the season. So that's good. We were over 15 before we came into this week. But we'll look to get it back in week 12. So let's get right into it. I want to try to cut. Last week I went pretty long. I'm going to try to get more to the point this week, make it a little bit more digestible, but I do have some trends. I looked up a bunch of systems and trends. So as we go, you'll hear me drop some numbers on some of these games. We'll start it off with Thursday Night Football. Bills at Texans is actually a pretty good game, in my opinion. Buffalo currently -5.5, and you're starting to see sixes pop up with the announcement that CJ Stroud will not play in this game. Now, we kind of knew, if you're in watching the betting markets and you're a bettor, you kind of knew CJ Stroud was not going to play in this game. You knew you were getting a third straight game of Davis Mills. He's 2-0. I know he hasn't played the stiffest of competition with the Jaguars and the Titans, and this will certainly be a test, a step up in competition when it comes to the defensive side of the ball, because the Bills are certainly better. But the Bills did just get totally torched at home by the by the Buccaneers, who are still banged up on offense. So I'm not, this 6 to me is high, guys. With Stroud, I made this game 2.5. Without him, you can talk me into 4. But I can't get to 6 no matter what I do with this game. So I would say heavy lean to Houston +6 as the home dog on Thursday Night Football, and I will probably end up taking this. If we can get a 6 widely available that I can release to subscribers, I'll probably go Houston +6. Like I said, good. Obviously, the Bills are very good on both sides of the ball, but they're still banged up on defense. They just got lit up at home. They looked kind of slow. I know the Texans don't have a bunch of speed. They don't have a great running game, but they do have skill position talent. They've got receivers, and Mills is getting more comfortable. And that was a tough divisional game on the road. He had to lead a game-winning drive. He was able to do it. So I'm not entirely convinced here that Houston just gets destroyed at home. And you know how good that defense is at home. It is spectacular, that defense at home. And they got, you go back and watch, and I know these are two different teams, but the Ravens-Browns game and the way Cleveland was able to kind of contain Lamar a little bit in that game, I think you see something similar here. Houston has the personnel to do it. They played the Bills last year and it was a low scoring defensive game. So consider that the fact that they know what the game plan has to be against Josh Allen. I like the Texans getting 6 in this game quite a bit to keep it close, even without CJ Stroud. And I know, everyone's going to be enamored with the Bills after they put up 40 plus points. The Buccaneers defense is old and slow and could not keep up with what they were running, especially with Cook and with Allen and the throws he was making. And they were due for one of those games. They had been struggling offensively. So makes sense that that happened. It was a shootout. I told you guys my lean to that game was the over. In this spot, though, I think they could struggle a bit more. I think Houston could keep this game close. I like the Texans +6 on Thursday Night Football to get us started. All right, over to Sunday, 1 p.m. window. We started off with the Steelers headed to Chicago, Pittsburgh +3 on the road in this game, and likely to be without Aaron Rodgers. Not confirmed yet, but if it's true that there's a broken whatever in his hand, he's probably not going to play this game, which means you'll see Mason Rudolph, and that is why the Steelers are a 3-point dog. With Rodgers in this game, I make it right around a pick. Without him, I'd basically be here 2.5 to 3. I don't love Rudolph, but he is certainly a capable backup, and I'm just gonna say that, listen, I'm tired of I don't want to come off as like I hate certain teams because I really don't. This is just a betting channel. I have nothing against the Bears or the Jaguars or these other teams or the Broncos that I take shots at sometimes. It's just by the numbers. The data tells us. The data is telling us that this Bears defense is not good, but they're winning games. So they're finding ways to win games. That is good. That's a positive. I loved Ben Johnson as a head coach, so I think they got a really nice setup with him going forward. I like Caleb Williams, don't love him, but they have good talent. They can run the ball. But in this game, to lay 3 at home with the Bears, you've really got to be convinced that Mason Rudolph is going to come in and just be totally lost because there are going to be guys open against this Bears secondary, and they're still injured on that side of the ball, and they're just generally not good on that side of the ball. So there's going to be guys open. It's just about, can Rudolph make the throws that McCarthy could not make on Sunday? If he can, if you think he can, Pittsburgh might be a good teaser leg. You maybe take the 3. I can't get to the point here where I want to lay points with the Bears. I think they've profiled pretty well as a dog this year. They've done a really good job in those games. As a favorite, you kind of saw it with the Giants, right? They were -4.5 against the Giants, won that game, but did not cover the spread. So I would be hesitant here to run and lay points with a very hot Chicago team that's won 7 of 8 games. That I would be very weary of that, even with Rudolph. And it's worth noting, Mike Tomlin as an underdog. You have that here. He's getting a field goal. He's 64% in his career ATS as an underdog with a very large sample size. So keep that in mind as well. Lean there to the Steelers at the full 3 if you can get it. The Jets taking on the Ravens. Baltimore -13.5. Total is 44.5 for this game. This is quite obviously a Ravens straight up win. And I do think if you put the gun to my head and you ask me who's going to cover it, I would probably lean Ravens. But I will say, and by the way, the Jets are starting Tyrod Taylor over Justin Fields in this game. One thing that I will note is I had a subscriber ask me, if the Ravens were like an automatic leg you can include in parlays to kind of get the juice down. And I wouldn't do it for 2 reasons. Number one is just not worth it. Okay, it's not about the win or lose the game. It's just not. It's just it's so high. It's not bringing it down much. And the second reason is they have not been reliable in these home games specifically as very big favorites. The last 20 Ravens home games, they're just 12-8 straight up. And that's kind of surprising when you think about how good, the teams that they've had over the last couple of years, how good those teams have been. You would expect a little bit better than that, but they're just 12-8 straight up at home. They can be got at home, including that game last year when they were laying 10 points or 9, I think 9.5 to the Raiders at home, and they lost that game outright. They have outright losses at home to the Steelers, to the Browns, on road loss to the Browns as a huge favorite last year as well. I would be very careful with this spread. I know the Ravens just seem to get silly at the end of these games where they are laying huge numbers. And Tyrod Taylor, I think, is I'm not going to go crazy, but I'll say a slight step up from Justin Fields. At least he can probably just make basic throws, which just seems like we have. It just seems like we're at an all-time high right now in the NFL of quarterbacks starting that just can't make basic throws. Like basic, if the defense is sitting in a zone, a guy just sits in a spot and there's nobody within 5 yards of him, just throw it to his chest. They end up throwing at his feet, his ankle, his 3 feet to his right, 3 feet to basic throws. Tyrod Taylor can make those basic throws, and he can move a little bit. I mean, he can do some things, but I really like the Ravens defense. They're healthy, they're trending up. I don't see them losing this game. I just want to put that out there that it is, I wouldn't be running to lay 13.5, 14 with the Ravens. And I also don't think it's worth it to include them in your parlays. But yeah, they should win the game. But if you told me I had to pick, I would lean to the 13.5. I would lean stronger though in this game to the under because I could see a scenario where the Ravens just don't need to run this up, get out of there healthy with a win. They slow down in the second half, and I could see the Jets just being stifled by that defense, which is vastly improved now that it's healthy. So I would lean under 44.5 in that game pretty strongly. The Giants are headed to Detroit to take on the Lions. Detroit minus 10.5 at home in this game, 49.5 the total. I don't want to say likely. We expect to see Jackson Dart back in this game. He missed one game after the concussion. You don't normally get 2 straight games out with a concussion. I know Stroud is doing that right now, but it's a short week, so he could not clear, I guess, in time for Thursday Night Football. But with 2 full weeks of rest, you should be good to go after a concussion. But just worth noting, you could see Winston, you could see Dart in this game. I don't think it's going to matter, though. I think Detroit's going to annihilate the Giants. I have a heavy lean to minus 10.5 in this game, minus 11, minus 12, whatever it is, because I just don't think it's going to be close. This is a horrible, horrible mismatch where you have one of the worst bottom 3 rushing defenses in the league against an excellent rushing offense that just struggled outdoors against an elite opponent, what I think is the best defense in the NFL overall, the Eagles. Couldn't move the ball, couldn't run it, too much pressure outdoors in the cold, windy, lots of wind. Now in an indoor weather controlled game against a horrible Giants defense. I mean, I think this is going to look like like the Bears game, like the Browns game that the Lions played at home. They win these games by 20 plus regularly. Last 13 losses for the Lions, they are 13-0 straight up and against the spread in the following game. I mean, this is, I think, another one of those smash spots. So I love Detroit. I love this piece as if you want to include Detroit in your money line parlays. I think that's the best piece on the board, even though they're not the biggest favorite on the board, because I just simply can't see. And by the way, if it's Winston, go back and watch the tape of Winston versus Green Bay. How many picks did he throw in that game that were dropped? He finished the game with 1 interception, I believe, which was the final play of the game that sealed it in the end zone. He could have had 5 interceptions in this game. I'm not even joking. You can go back and look. There were 4 separate throws that he made that were literally in the hands of a Packers defender and just dropped, where guys collided or guys dropped the ball, whatever the case may be. So as far as I'm concerned here, I would lay any number with Detroit in this game. I know that sounds crazy. Also would lean slightly to the over because I think they're just going to be able to put up points at will and name their number in this one, and maybe the Giants contribute a little bit in garbage time. All right, next one up, we've got the Patriots headed to Cincinnati to take on Joe Flacco and the Bengals. Pats were 7 initially in this one. We've now seen movement, 7.5 up to 8 and 8.5 at certain spots for the Patriots, getting a ton of love in the market. Now, Jamar Chase not playing this game, suspended after he spit on Jalen Ramsey, so that is probably also contributes to why this line moved up. And I know he's their best receiver and a huge weapon, but they've got no shortage, guys, of, Flacco's going to throw it. The thing I'll say, and I'm not grabbing these points with the Bengals because I don't trust their defense at all, even after what decent showing against the Steelers. Like, they were improved. They really lost that game. Flacco threw a pick 6. There was other things at stake, but at play, but the defense did show improvement, but I'm not ready to buy on them. But one thing I will say is, no matter who you put out there, Flacco's going to throw that damn football. All right. I'm not saying that you're going to have a ton of, losing Chase is definitely a big thing, but he's going to throw it to whoever's out there. So I'm not going crazy over the loss of Jamar Chase. I still think they can put up points. I would still lean over because I don't think that defense is going to be, I know they had a good game, but I'm not sold that it's just all fixed suddenly. So lean over in this one. I also think you're okay to tease down New England if you want to do it. I don't love it, but if you desperately need a teaser leg and you can't find another one, I would consider this one -8 down to -2 or -2.5. But other than that, not really much on this game. Per my numbers, I kind of have it I actually have it a little bit less. So I see a little bit of value on Cincinnati, but again, just a lot. The defense is just so bad, and this is an offense on the other side that is going to take advantage of it. I really see a lot. Like, they're going to throw the ball downfield. They're not going to hesitate. They're not going to played conservative, so I could see a lot of points in this game on both sides. I lean over and lean New England in teasers in this one. All right, next one up, we've got the Seahawks laying 13.5 at Tennessee. This is an enormous number. All right. I the total's 40.5. Let's get this out the way. So 13.5, total's 40.5. I'll give you the trend. Seahawks are 9-3-1 ATS on the road under Mike McDonald, and they're 5-0 against the spread on the road this year. Now, a couple of those have been as dogs. Remember, they were a dog to how crazy is this now? They were a dog to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They were a dog to the Rams. I can't remember any others. They were small favorites in a couple of them, but they are perfect ATS on the road so far this season. But this is a massive number, and I know they've been capable against these bad teams of putting up a lot of points. I get that, but you kind of saw last week once they faced a better defense, a lot changed, and the Titans are not a good defense. But they do have a very good, Jeffrey Simmons is a very good defensive player, and he changes that defense. Like you saw it a little bit last week, and I know they were going up against Mills. I'm not trying to say that they're a good defense, but what I'm trying to say is without him, it's hopeless. With him, there's some hope. So he can do some things. He can maybe harass Darnold a little bit. He's a very good player. Other than that, listen, Seattle's going to win the game, but this is a crazy number. All right. What is your power rating? Like let's just talk pure power ratings for this game. I've got Seattle 3.5 points better than an average team on a neutral field. And I've got the Tennessee Titans dead last. Okay, so I've got Seattle in my power ratings, the 8th best team, plus 3.5. I've got Tennessee last at -7, a full touchdown worse than any other team on a neutral field, or than an average team on a neutral field. So that is a 10.5 point difference, right? 3.5 to 7. 10.5 point difference. And then you adjust for home field. What do you want to give the Titans? 1.5 for home field? So I've got this at 9. 10.5 minus 1.5. Have this at +9. 13.5 is a crazy number. Am I suggesting that I love the Titans? No, but that certainly would be my lean. It's Titans or pass in terms of against the spread in this game, although I think Seattle wins it. All right, the next one up, Minnesota and your boy 9 headed to Green Bay to take on Jordan Love and the Packers. Packers -6.5 in this game. 41.5 is the total. My numbers really like the under in this one. Not sure if I'll end up betting it. I've been straying away. I have not bet many totals this year. I think 1 or 2 totals. But my numbers love the under in this game, and probably because of what the stats, just the data that is being poured out of JJ McCarthy in these games is making the offense look so inept when really it's not. They've got great skill position talent. They have a decent offensive line now that it's healthy. Guys are getting open. The schemes are there. He's just got to make some throws. If he can make some normal, basic throws, this offense would look like a normal, average offense. Like it wouldn't look like a bottom-dwelling offense. So that's probably why my numbers love the under. Also, you got the Green Bay defense is very good. The Vikings are going to do all that exotic blitzing. It's a divisional game, outdoors in the cold. So I do lean under 41.5 in the game. As far as the spread, I got some value on the Packers because I make this north of 7, but I don't love it. They're banged up. They're dealing with injuries. Jordan Love got hurt. Even though he came back and finished that game, he did get hurt in that game last week against the Giants. So I'd be careful laying the points with this one. And what has always happened? What always happens? Like we saw this when the Vikings went to Detroit and they won the game outright with JJ McCarthy. Like anytime you see these young quarterbacks, they come home. Maybe there's too much pressure. They put up a stinker of a game. Then they go on the road. I guess the pressure's less. They get to play the villain in the road atmosphere, and then suddenly they just everything clicks, and you see these outright wins in these divisional games. I was texting a buddy. I'm like, watch this dude go into Green Bay and win next week because that's just how it is after you give up on him. Because that's just how it is in the NFL. So in terms of ATS, my numbers say value on the Packers. I don't love it. The market did like this was 6, so the market bought this up to 6.5. It's been leveling off of there. We haven't seen 7s yet. If we see a 7, I would lean to Minnesota. At the current price, I'm not doing anything with this game, but I do lean under in that one. Also worth, the Packers as a home favorite, they've been pretty good under LaFleur. I think he's like north of 60% against the spread. That's also worth noting. All right, next one up, we're going to Kansas City. The Colts taking on the Chiefs. Chiefs were at the lowest point of this game, -3. We're now seeing 3.5 mostly across the board, with a total of 49.5. Again, my numbers like under in this game, but my numbers love the Chiefs in this game. I love the Chiefs in this game. At at 3 or 3.5, whichever one you can get. I make this game 5.5, and I'll get into a few reasons why. Um, the first thing I'll say is the game against the Broncos that the Chiefs just played. They were on the road in Denver, which is a pretty good home field, and they were laying 4. So how do we get from that to this? If the Chiefs are laying 4 at Denver, and let's say I said it's a good home field, I'm going to give them 2 points for home field. That means the Chiefs were by them. And by the way, the Chiefs bought it up. It was 3. Sorry, the market bought the Chiefs up last week. So the market, which is filled with sharps and pro data, the market came in and said 3 is short for Kansas City, bought up to 3.5, bought up to 4. The market liked the Chiefs as being 6 points better than Denver on a neutral field last week. And now we come into this week and we're saying the Colts and the Chiefs are even, dead even. If you give the Chiefs 2.5 or 3 for home field, is one of the best in football. We're saying they're even. I can't get. Are the Colts 6 points better than the Broncos? I have the Colts and the Broncos exactly the same in my power ratings. Both of them are plus 2.5. So how are we possibly at 3.5 in this game? We're starting to see it tick up. I'm expecting to see 4s pop up and 4.5s pop up. 4.5 was the look ahead in this one. And I guess the Chiefs lose. You go look at that Chiefs game. Like I said earlier, if they, when they scored that touchdown with Kelsey and they made it 19-16 and they're going for the extra point, if they make that extra point, I think the game's over. And because Denver was struggling to get in the end zone. They were getting field goals. But if they go up 20-16, I'm not sure that Bo Nix leads a touchdown drive. But the fact that it was 19-16 means he just needed a field goal. They got it, and then he just needed another field goal to win. Like, it's so different, the pressure of needing the touchdown. So, in my opinion, that, and I know we're talking little details here, but that extra missed point, difference between a Chiefs win and a Chiefs loss, if the Chiefs won that game, you're not seeing 3s this week. So, the Chiefs are one of the best 5-5 teams you'll ever see. They have all their offensive metrics are top 5, everything. They got a great quarterback. The defense has not been an elite defense, but it's certainly above average. And you kind of know what you need to do here with the Colts. You need to shut this, the head of the snake, Jonathan Taylor. You have to contain him somehow. You have to force Daniel Jones to beat you with his arm. And the last time he went outdoors in a cold environment on the road, he had 5 or 6 turnovers at Pittsburgh and lost the game. I think you probably see something similar here where it's just, you get these quarterbacks like Darnold, Goff, Daniel Jones. Once you put them outdoors against an elite team, they struggle. So I'll go ahead and say very, very heavy lean to the Chiefs in this one, minus the 3 or 3.5. By the way, the under, I mentioned strongly to the under in that game. Kansas City unders at home are on a 25-9 run. Crazy. And they're 3-0 this season to the under at home. So keep that in mind. All right, next one up, we've got the Jaguars taking on the Arizona Cardinals. Jacksonville minus 2.5 on the road, 47.5 the total. Not much of an opinion on this game, but there is an interesting trend. Teams that win outright as an underdog in blowout fashion, like the Jaguars did against the Chargers, in their next game, they're just 39% against the spread with a large sample size. So that's worth noting. That points you to Arizona getting the 2.5. At 2.5, I think you're better off teasing. If you can get a 3, I would lean Arizona in this game. I don't have it's Jacoby Brissett versus Trevor Lawrence. I don't think there's much of a difference there. The Arizona defense got absolutely torched last week. So I think you'll see a more inspired effort from them in this game. Second straight home game. Jaguars going from the East Coast, traveling out to the West Coast. I think the spot here heavily says Arizona. And normally you wouldn't have, if we didn't see what we saw last week, I don't think you would ever even saw 3s here. You may have seen pick -1 to the Jags. 3 is out of hand. So I would lean to the Cardinals if you can get a flat 3. And if not, I think they're a decent teaser leg at 2.5. Next game up is the Browns at Vegas. Cleveland catching 3.5 here against the Raiders. 36.5 is the total. Low total, I think, is kind of warranted in this game, as it's Shedeur Sanders versus Geno Smith. I don't know what else you could say. Listen, I mean, it's just so tough to handicap games where you don't have any data on the quarterback. Sanders came in relief last week. He did not look good, but I will say it's very, very different coming into the middle of a game like that. It's just different, like versus having a full week of prep. And even then, guys, I mean, really, go back and watch that game. Did he look really that much worse than Dylan Gabriel? Dylan Gabriel is so bad that I'm not really sure that there's even a drop off. Like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that Sanders comes in and you get worse. I think it might even get better with a full week of prep. His one thing though, which could be problematic in this game against a guy like Max Crosby, is when that pressure comes, he is not good at getting away. And he is mobile, he's athletic, he can get away, but he's not good at like you see him often. He did it in the Ravens game where instead of stepping up in the pocket, he'll run straight back and then start to try to spin and then suddenly you just get tripped up and you lose 15 yards trying to run backwards instead of just stepping up through the pressure into the pocket. So that's something I see him do a lot that I don't like. But I think in just terms of arm talent, just throwing the ball, size, vision, I think he's an upgrade over Gabriel. So, but at the same time, it's the Browns on the road. The defense on the road is night and day from when it's at home. Small lean to the Raiders here. They can't stop anybody. Geno Smith can't. I mean, for the talent this team has on offense, the offensive line is so bad. They can't do anything with Genti. This is just listen. Don't bet this game. Just I'll lean to the Raiders here, but this game is just don't bet it, don't watch it unless you're a fan of one of these teams. I just don't got much for you here. But I will say though, the reason why I don't have much on this game is because Sanders puts in an element of surprise, an element of variance that you're not really used to. So you don't have any data on him. You can't really handicap it. So small to the Raiders in that game. Let's go to the NFC South. We've got the Falcons taking on the Saints. This is a line that has flipped through zero. We always love those. Atlanta was the favorite. Now it's New Orleans, -1.5 at home. Some twos popping up, 39.5 the total. Kirk Cousins will get the start against Tyler Shugg. What a matchup. I think you saw last week, the Falcons were playing a great game until Penix got hurt. And that's unfortunate because they were really going to run away with that one if he did not go down. Cousins comes in, the offense just dies. Now, he did lead a drive at the end of the game to tie it, send it to overtime. Okay, fair. Maybe a week of prep gets him a little bit better off. I do think he can be all right in this game, especially against the Saints. The Saints are not, but I will say that Shug has looked a little bit like he seems to be improving. But again, not much data on him. It's hard to say. You kind of know what you're getting with Kirk Cousins. You're going to need to dink and dunk your way to winning this game. You're going to need to rely heavy on your running backs. He's not capable of throwing the ball downfield anymore, but he is accurate. He can at least throw, he can at least hit guys in the chest with the football if they're 10 yards away from him. But you're not going to be taking many deep shots. So that's going to give an advantage to the Saints defense that can kind of hone in on that and know that you're going to be targeting the short to intermediary area, of the intermediate areas of the field. So that's advantage Saints, but advantage Falcons with their strong defense, their good pass rush against a younger quarterback. Very, very tough game to call. I know the line has flipped and the Saints are getting love in the market. I lean that way, but I also would not be opposed to using Atlanta in teasers because I just think this is one of those games that's probably going to be close. And I think both teams will probably make mistakes. I think you'll probably see turnovers on both sides. And I could just see this coming down to like one of the last drives of the game. So I would lean to teasing Atlanta and small lean to the Saints to win the game, but I don't love it, to be honest. I know it's one of those like sharp contrarian spots. Take the team that's 2-8 at home because they're favored. I get it. I get all that, but the opponent's 3-7. It's not like it's that crazy to be favored over a 3-7 team, no matter what your record is. But listen, Cousins, he did not look good. With a full week of prep, what does he look like? We'll have to see. We'll have to see. He did have a full week of prep last time he did. It did not go well. So the last time he started. So we'll have to see what you get in this game. But again, these games like this, Shador Sanders versus Geno Smith, Kirk Cousins versus Tyler Shuck, very hard to handicap. Handicapping has so much to do with the quarterback position that when you have guys like this starting games, it just makes it real. It makes our job so much harder. So this is definitely a game that I'm probably going to stay away from. Next one up is the Eagles at the Cowboys. Philadelphia laying 3.5 points. We did see this tick up, by the way, to 4.5 before coming back down to 3.5 after the Cowboys won on Monday Night Football. 47.5 is your total. I like the under in this one. I do lean that way. I do think Dallas is a live home dog, but I'm always hesitant backing teams after they have a big offensive game on the road. Then they come back home. They tend to be a little flat. And on top of that, Dallas just got like such a cupcake matchup against the Raiders defense. Couldn't do anything against their guys. That's not going to be the case against the Eagles. And they're going to, even with the Raiders having just one guy, He's just Max Crosby's only just one guy that can affect the game, and he did get a strip sack fumble. That's with one guy and a key turnover for the Raiders. They just couldn't convert it to a touchdown. But the Eagles got like 3, 4 guys that can do that, up the middle with Davis and with Carter. Now you got Jalen Phillips on the edge. It's a freaking nightmare. So I think you could see Dak harassed a lot in this game. He's going to have to get the ball out quickly. I lean under. I do slightly lean to Dallas because my numbers don't have this at 3.5, 4. But, and the Eagles offense, by the way, looks legitimately like not great. So I know they've played a couple of tough defenses their last 2 games against the Packers and against the Lions, but there's struggles there. There's drama with the AJ Brown crap that's always happened coming back, with them. And the Dallas defense did look rejuvenated off the bye. The passing of the teammate definitely, I think, gave them a smart spark, but also getting Overshown back, getting Quinnen Williams back. So not getting Quinnen back, getting Quinnen Williams as a part of the team. He was wreaking havoc up the middle, and he's a very good player. So I could see that being an issue. I think I think the Eagles defense is obviously great. I think they're number 1 unit in the league. I think the Dallas defense is improved, and that might be something I want to buy on with the lean to the under. The spread's just not quite there for me. I lean Dallas, probably won't play it though. More likely to go under on this game if I was going to bet it. All right, we're at Sunday Night Football now with the Buccaneers headed to LA taking on the Rams. Rams -6, now up to 6.5 and juiced 6.5. Won't be surprised if 7s start to pop up. 49.5 is your total. I mean, how do you not take 7 here with the Bucks? Listen, I know they didn't cover against the Bills and they gave up a shit ton of points. But that Buffalo, that game, the Bills were coming back home with their season basically on the line, and they just put up a stink. Like they needed that so badly. The Rams are coming off a win where their offense kind of struggled. The Seahawks outplayed them in that game overall, generally, but just 4 interceptions from Darnold was really the reason that they couldn't win the game in the end. Um, well, even then they were trying to go drive down the win, but just not enough time left. But just I think the Rams are now the number 1 team in my power ratings, but I'm always weary of that, having a team move into the top spot that I didn't have projected to be in the top spot, because it's like, at what point are they overvalued? Is there any kinks in the armor? Like what is it? What is there something we can find to fade or to bet on? And for me, the Rams, this is not a great matchup for the Buccaneers defense, but they do a good job stopping the run. So they maybe want to force Stafford into some passing downs. I could see them having some similar to success to what Seattle did. And now, the Bucks, you were sitting pretty at 6-2. You're now 6-4. Panthers are 6-5 right behind you. So it's getting a little bit desperate. I think at 7, I would have to lean Tampa Bay here. But that's pretty much it. I would also lean over in this game as well. I could see this playing out similar to the Bills Buccaneers game where both offenses have success. But if you're giving me a full touchdown, I mean, and if you go back and watch that Bills game, I mean, Tampa was clearly the right side. They lost it in the fourth quarter. The Bills ended up covering with that last touchdown, but Tampa Bay was driving to cover it with a backdoor score, and they were right there the entire game. So I would say if you had Tampa +6 last week, you probably were on the right side and got a bad beat. Tampa +7 this week kind of seems like one that I would lean to for sure. Monday Night Football, the 49ers at home laying 7 to the Carolina Panthers. 48.5 is the total. Both teams coming off of a win in this game. Brock Purdy looked really good coming back. So definitely some light at the end of the tunnel here for the Niners, who are now 7-4. Shanahan's done a tremendous job this year. I know I keep saying that, but it's just amazing what he's done with almost nothing. Same thing with Saleh with the defense. My thing here is with the Panthers, whenever they pull off these upsets, we saw this in the Saints game. They beat the Packers outright, came back home, laid an egg against the Saints. And now you upset a divisional opponent in the Falcons on the road, come back from behind, wild game, go to overtime. Now you go on the road to San Francisco, West Coast travel. The Niners do not have a good record as a home favorite, but I do like them as a teaser like this week to just win this game. But I will say, if you were going to bet ATS, I would lean to the Niners -7 in this one. I just think the spot sets up great with what Carolina did last week, how they've been playing. That was a pretty fluky win. If you go look at the box score, you look at the EPA, how Penix was playing before he got hurt, he was playing great. And they were going to run away with that game if he didn't get hurt. I promise you that. So The fact that he got hurt and then the Panthers come all the way back and win it, just a little bit on the lucky side. You don't want to jump on those the next week after those happen. So I lean San Francisco. I think they can do enough defensively with Bryce Young, especially coming off of his a career game for him. And I love how the offense looked with Purdy. I know the Cardinals defense is not great, but I think Purdy is now, he looked to me to finally be fully healthy. And if that's the case, they did a great job managing it with Jones, getting them as many wins as they can. And then finally, all right, you're fully ready to go. Let's go. They looked much better. It's getting healthier on that side of the ball. Now you got Jennings, Kittle, Pearsall, McCaffrey. It's starting to look, defense is still in shambles, but it's starting to look like you can put up a lot of points, and that's going to make them a dangerous offense. So lean San Francisco on Monday Night Football against the Panthers. All right, guys, that's week 12. I will be back in the week with the wrap up on Friday, try to give you a best bet winner this week. I do have one play released already. It's just a parlay, so I released that out to just get ahead of some of these big lines that are out there. But I'll probably have a few more at either tomorrow or on Thursday for both college and NFL. As always, thanks guys for watching, and I'll catch you on Friday.